day after graduation at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And contrary to some people's beliefs, hi, I'm Pam Lauer. That's my and that's it.
I've been married 25 years. We were married, had our anniversary last month. We have a son who will be 23 next week. He's in his 6th year at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, studying architecture and should be through this summer. We have a 19-year-old daughter who is in her 2nd year at Humboldt State in Arcata because she wanted to wear jeans and sweaters. That was her criteria for college. Undeclared major, and she was thrilled to death that she didn't have to declare anything and can go ahead and do that. She was one who preferred to skip high school and go right to a dorm. She just thought that would be wonderful. I am working full-time now. Full-time for me is 5 days one week and 4.5 the next. That's the most I have worked. I've been at the same pediatric office 4 times. I leave periodically and then go back. I have gone back to the hospital. I stayed at Highland, worked about 1.5 years in labor and delivery, which wasn't quite right because I worked labor, delivery, newborn nursery, postpartum, and past meds on metabolic. And have worked on surgical floors, and then I go back to the pediatric office, and then I go back and work in a hospital for a while. I will probably stay at the pediatric office now. We're up to 6 pediatricians, and they keep me busy. And that's about it.
Of 19 years. Earl was a Berkeley policeman when I met him. He happened to be working with Peter McVeigh at the time. And after a trip around the country, Karen invited me over for dinner one night. She forgot to mention that Peter had invited a friend over for dinner. So that led to 4 years of dating, and we finally married after that, with Karen constantly in the room saying, well. She denies the whole thing as a put-up job. I'm working at Alta Bates Hospital in Berkeley right now. I'm Director of Clinical Resource Management, which is a new program to work with the physicians to help find ways for them to practice more cost-effective medicine. It's interesting because to find myself there now, I stayed at Highland for a year and worked on A2 with Jenny Balby. And then I decided I wanted to move on someplace else, and I thought Alta Bates would actually be a great hospital, and I went there and interviewed. And the director of nursing I interviewed with said that I could anticipate being on nights for at least a year. I said, a year? Goodness, that's very long. And she said, well, you know, you diploma graduates are so good, and we have all these new AA graduates, and they just can't do what you diploma grads do, so we have to put them on days. So that didn't sound too good. So I went to Merritt and worked there for 15 years, first on a med-surg unit, and then I taught in the School of Nursing for 3 years, and was director of the in-service area for about 7 years. During that time, I went back to Hayward and got my bachelor's, and back to UC San Francisco and got my master's. Shortly after that, I went over to St. Mary's Hospital for about 6 years as one of the directors of nursing, and supervised just about every area. In 1988, I was one of about 150 people who were part of a reduction in forces. We were RIFed, or laid off. About 7 months later, I started at Alta Bates in Berkeley. On days, Monday through Friday. It was sort of unusual to get back there and think it took 23 years. And here I am back at Alta Bates. On days. Anyhow, I enjoy the work very much. The medical staff is really, contrary to my introduction, an excellent medical staff, and it's really more interesting and more challenging than I would ever expect. And I think it's really the last thing we have left to do. I think we've all, and all of those of us who are still in healthcare and hospitals, we've seen all the FTE cuts we could possibly imagine in nursing, and we're the ones who are affected the most. And I think it's time now we look at who does the ordering and try and find ways to make differences in that, because I don't think we can cut any more people doing what we're trying to do. Anyhow, we've been living in Alameda for the last 6 years, and this year we just moved back to our home in Concord, and we hope to see as many of you as possible there tomorrow. We'll start about 11. And I also wanted to just mention that Lorna Anderson Prang called, and she couldn't be with us even though we encouraged her to hop on a plane 2 days ago. but she wanted us to just share her her wishes and good thoughts. She has 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. She's still practicing nursing. She works in ICU. She's a CCRN. She said that she was selected as one of the Great 100, which in North Carolina is the identification every year of 100 nurses out of 53,000 licensed nurses as the 100 exceptional nurses in the state. So she felt very proud of that.
I stayed at Highland, like many of us, for about 1.5 years, and left to go to Kaiser and Hayward, where I've been for the last 23 years, almost 24. Started med-surg there, and then opened the ICU and then the CCU. Worked there on evenings for about 10 years. Tried my hand at evening supervision for a couple of years and decided I liked sick people better. However, the opportunity came up to get into education, so I joined the in-service staff as the first nursing in-service instructor there about 10 to 12 years ago, and have been doing that ever since. Got my my bachelor's degree in 1980, and my master's this June from San Jose State as a gerontological nurse specialist. And hope to convince my husband at some point to move to the country and open an adult day health care where I can get back a little bit, because I'm tired of the traffic that I'm dealing with daily. We have 2 children. George and I have been married for 23 years, and we have a daughter, 22, who will be finishing at San Jose State in December as an occupational therapist, and a son, 19, who's tried school and tried work and is still trying to decide what he wants to do with it. And he will, and as someone else said earlier, and he'll do a fine job when he decides what it is he wants to do. And that's about it. Who comes from the farthest away?
Karen.
Virginia, do we beat Virginia?
No. Next, who's been married the longest? Jackie and Nancy.
No.
Carol.
And Linda.
Oh, Carolyn, that's right. Or King.
Come on, King.
Actually,
Them Kings have been married a long
the Kings didn't
time.
come forward. And they were married before they were married.
Right.
They've been married twice to the same people.
27 years.
27 years. And we were trying to figure out who had the most kids, and I've heard 4. Is there anything higher?
Or it's funny.
Somebody else.
thank goodness.
Who was that? Was that?
Carol. Nancy has 4.
Nancy?
Oh, Nancy. Yeah.
And Carolyn
Nancy
has
and
4?
Jack.
No, Carolyn has 3.
It is too late, girl. Thank you anyhow, but it's too late.
So Nancy and Jack have 4 children, and that's the most. Grandchildren, I think we decided. Turn the camera on yourself.
When your oldest daughter runs off and gets married at 18.
Yeah.
Judy, I think it's interesting that everyone, how this class, you know, I've had a lot of people razz me sometimes about a 3-year school, even had to go up and present it to our nursing school, and you know, they talked to me into going back and doing the first 2 years like the nurses do. I didn't want the piece of paper, but I'm just curious. I mean, it's amazing what this class has done.
The other thing to me is how many people have been administrative and education. I think this really speaks highly for our teachers and our supervisors.
The role models that they set for us.
Yeah, we haven't heard what you guys have been doing.
You have to me.
What are you really doing
The real thing.
What do you want to hear?
We're not taking notes, though.
You're not. Good.